You're listening to the Get Meal Prep Show, a podcast about meal planning strategies, improving your nutrition, and getting dinner on the table. You know that this is the podcast for you if you've ever thought, oh no, it's 3 o'clock and I have no idea what's for dinner. We dive deep into meal planning methods and meal planning strategies that help you prepare healthy home-cooked meals that don't leave you feeling like a slave in the kitchen. I'm your host, Susan Watson, registered dietitian, lifestyle nutrition coach, and meal planning strategist for the online course, Get Meal Prepped. My co-host, Andrea Hardy, is a registered dietitian and she helps people improve their relationship with food. Together, we have formed the Get Meal Prepped method that helps people improve their eating habits by cooking real food and not relying on convenience food products. Aside from our online course, you can work with us via our one-on-one coaching package services. You can find links to our packages in the show notes below this recording. We're so happy to have you here today and share this episode with you. If you find this episode helpful in your journey to become healthier, we would love to hear from you too. So please let us know how your meal planning is going by leaving a review on iTunes, subscribing to our channel on YouTube, or sharing this episode with friends or coworkers, or maybe even family. It's really easy to leave a review. You just leave a review right from your podcast app. Simply search the Get Meal Prep Show, click reviews, and then write a review. We would love to hear from you. Today on our show, we have registered and licensed dietitian and certified personal trainer, Lara Clevenger. She owns her own private practice in a small town called Smyrna Beach, where she specializes in anti-inflammatory and ketogenic diets. Like Andrea and myself, Lara loves the Instapot and has a number of great low-carb Instapot recipes on her blog. Lara has also contributed to our free downloadable PDF guide, 50 Healthy Instapot Dietitian-Approved Recipes. You can access this guide via the link in our show notes. And if you're looking for healthy, delicious recipes for the Instapot, this guide is for you. So let's get to our interview with Lara and how she uses the Instapot for her weekly meal prep. So thank you so much, Lara, for joining us today. This is Lara Clevenger. And Lara, can you tell me a little bit about your website and your business that you run?
Hi, Susan. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on your podcast today. I'm a registered and licensed dietitian down in Florida, and I have a private practice that is surrounded around low carb and anti-inflammatory diets. And most of my clients have some kind of chronic disease like diabetes, hypertension, that they really need to buckle down, get their nutrition under control. And so we talk a lot about low carb recipes and meal planning, and I really like to utilize like prep days for meal planning, and the Instant Pot is one of the huge tools, main techniques that I use that my clients seem to love.
Well, Lara, thank you so much for being with us today on the Get Meal Prep Show. So when we get started, I just want to ask you, when you bought the Instapot, did you get rid of any of your appliances? Myself, I was able to get rid of my rice cooker, my steamer, my yogurt maker, and it's just been great. Yeah, I even got rid of my slow cooker. So just wondering yourself, did you get rid of any appliances or do you still have everything at home?
Yeah, that's what I did. I had 2 slow cookers. I got rid of both of them. I actually got 2 Instant Pots. I have the 8-quart and the 6-quart. And then last Christmas, I got my parents and my boyfriend's parents an Instant Pot for Christmas. They both loved it. Yeah, game changer.
I love how versatile the Instapot is and really how you can save so much space by having one appliance that does it all. So you're down there in Florida, right? I'm in Winnipeg up in Canada. And how's things down in Florida?
I am way down. Yep, it's New Smyrna Beach, so it's the shark bite capital of the world, actually. Yeah.
Wow, that is so awesome. Well, if you ever come to Canada, you will have to come and visit us in Winnipeg, Manitoba, or maybe go out to Calgary, Alberta, where our co-host Andrea Hardy lives.
I know. That is so cool. And I'm making it to Canada sometime this year. Like, I don't care where. I know Canada's huge, but I've never even like crossed the border. I've had my passport for years and I've only gone on a cruise. I've never even used it.
Well, you're definitely going to have to come and visit us here in Canada. We would love to meet with you and maybe go out for a drink or, really geek out and talk about the Instapot. But let's get into the interview questions that I have for you today. So I hear you're a really big Instapot fan. and I would really love to know how you use the Instapot and how it's really transformed your cooking at home and your meal prep. And what have you found has been the biggest benefit by using the Instapot?
So before, I used to do like the whole weekend. I would used to do my meal planning and then my meal prepping. So I would make all my meals for the entire week. So like breakfast and lunch, I would pre-prep into like glass containers, and then like dinner, I would like prep part of it and then like leave whatever like the green leafy vegetables like unprepped. But it used to take like 2 days, and it would take like multiple hours on each day. And so now with the Instant Pot, I'm able to bulk prep. I have both of them going. Like I have always like my bone broth cooking in my big huge 8 quart. And so like I'll start that at night, let it run overnight on the slow cooker function, and then I'll do it like high pressure for just 2 hours, and boom, it's done. It's like the best gelatinous-y like bone broth ever. And then I'll use it to like prep 2 different proteins, and then like you can make mashed cauliflower in like 1 minute under pressure, steam broccoli 1 minute, like steam kale, and you don't have like once you wash your kale like water flying everywhere like on the stove top. So it's definitely cut down on prep time, and it's just made everything so much easier.
Yes, that is super neat that you're able to get so much done on the weekend and do that batch prepping. And I really like to hear about the fact that you have 2 Instapots. I'm on my second one because I left my first one on the stove and it ended up getting burnt because one of the elements turned on. But I love the fact that there's different sizes of Instapots, because I know I've got the large one, but my in-laws who are cooking for 1 or 2, they actually have a smaller one. And I just think it's neat that anybody can get an Instapot for their size of family or for the amount of people that they're cooking for.
Yeah, and they just came out with the baby one, so they have the 3 quart one now. So a lot of like clients use it for like oatmeal in the morning and stuff. And also, Instant Pot is such a great company. So we got a lot of water damage down here in Florida, and especially my friend Dana that lives on Beachside, her entire house got flooded and her Instant Pot got ruined, and they sent her a new one. Yeah, they are such a great company, and they're from Canada too.
Oh wow, I totally didn't know that about the Instapot company. That's definitely great to hear. So now that you've been using the Instapot, what are some, I guess, new or inspiring type of recipes that you have tried that maybe you wouldn't have tried before, or new recipe ideas that you've been using the Instapot for?
Well, it's just a huge time saver, but I don't know if that's new to me. Well, actually, I had never been able to master a cheesecake in the oven, and I can do a cheesecake super easy. And I have a great recipe on my blog for like low carb cheesecake, which you can do any different varieties. Like if you want, like you can make it not low carb, or you can add different fruits, different toppings and stuff. So healthy desserts, quick, easy.
Yes, I totally agree that recipes are definitely quick and easy in the Instapot. And we'll make sure to link to your blog with your recipes inside the show notes for this session that we're recording. And we also have that guide that I talked about where we have 50 Instapot dietitian recipes, so make sure you take a look at that. So that's really interesting. Myself, I found using or cooking eggs has been the most transformational part of using the Instapot, because you're able to cook a whole bunch of eggs in like 3 minutes, maybe 3 or 5 minutes, and they peel so easy. So that's one of the things that I really love about the Instapot.
And also works really good for farm fresh eggs too, because they're so fresh. Like if you boil them on the stovetop, like you normally lose like half of them. And I get fresh duck eggs and chicken eggs every week because I live in like rural like county Florida. So yeah.
Oh wow, that's really interesting to hear about the farm fresh eggs. I didn't know about that. So I'll have to keep that in mind. Okay, so next question. I wanted to ask you, when you are using your Instapot for your meal prep on Sunday, tell me a little bit about what that looks like and how you use the Instapot to prep all of your meals for the week.
Okay, so we already talked about it a little bit, but basically I do 2 to 3 different proteins, and then I do 2 to 3 different vegetables. So it could be like I'm steaming broccoli in one, and I'm steaming, then mashing cauliflower to do like a low carb loaded cauliflower mash. I could steam that and then put in like a little bit of heavy whipping cream, some Gouda cheese, some Parmesan cheese, spices. And so I always do like 2 different non-starchy vegetables and 2 different proteins. And then I could possibly make a soup in it. I could make sauces in it, like if I'm going to make like a curry sauce or So basically that, and my boyfriend does not do keto, so I will also sometimes do like quinoa for him or brown rice, and it's done in a fraction of the time, and you're not worried about like the water boiling over. It's easy cleanup.
Oh, yeah, that sounds really, really good. Some of the favorite things that I like to use the Instapot for on the weekend for meal prepping is getting all of my proteins done up. So I will do some shredded Instapot chicken. So I just put a couple chicken breasts in the Instapot and put it on for about 30 or 40 minutes, and then it is shredded chicken. I'll do some beef and maybe some pork and have all of my proteins ready for making different meals throughout the week, like chicken noodle soup or quesadillas, tacos like yourself. It's great to have all of that done up in advance.
Yep, that's kind of what we do. So like we'll maybe make whatever is maybe it's shredded like beef for like tacos, and then I'll add like I'll make lettuce wrap tacos, whereas my boyfriend will have regular hard or corn taco like shells, and then we have all of our vegetables all like the raw ones chopped up. So if we want like onion or cilantro or salsa, that's all already pre-chopped in the fridge. So it's just make your own food. So you're basically dinner's made in like 10 minutes, if that.
Yeah, that sounds really good. So moving on to the next question, what are your favorite, maybe list 3 favorite low carb meal prep recipes that you use the Instapot for, ones that you definitely can't live without?
Okay, so my favorite is like beef ribs. So whenever ribeyes go on sale, like around the holidays, if it's gonna be like a rib roast, I always stock up on like the green wise, that's from Publix, but like the organic beef ribs. And so it's basically the ribs that are under the rib roast, or when you chop off ribeye, it's that bone. So it's a really high fat bone, and so it's cooked like I can make fall off the bone ribs in minutes. So like 22 minutes under pressure, and then I broil them for 5 minutes on each side. The best tender ribs ever. Holidays, I always like to do a low carb cheesecake. And what else? It's not super low carb, but I love making like a red lentil curry, and it's so quick and easy in the Instant Pot.
I have a quick question regarding your ribs that you do. So you put them in the Instant Pot and cook them up. When you put them in the oven to broil, do you put any sort of barbecue sauce on them, or how do you finish off your ribs?
Yeah, I know I do barbecue sauce. There's a couple different brands. Like I think G Hughes is one, and then actually Alterna Sweets. I actually met them out at a keto conference. It's a super sweet like husband and wife, and they're out of Washington, and so they have low carb barbecue sauce, low carb ketchups, and they just started like released yesterday like a low carb like spicy ketchup. So and it's all made with stevia and erythritol.
Oh, well, those barbecue sauces sound very interesting. I've actually never heard of any of them, so I'm assuming that they are only available down in the States, in the US, and I haven't seen them in Canada. But moving on to the next question. So, as a dietitian who works with anti-inflammatory diets, what would you say some of your best anti-inflammatory recipes for the Instapot are, and that you enjoy cooking?
The red lentil recipe, that's a super easy one because you're gonna have all of from the anthocyanin. I can never say that word.
I think you're looking for the word anthocyanins.
Yes, there we go. And then we're gonna have like your fiber, and then just like the curry, like the anti-inflammatory, the antioxidants from yep. So just like the curries, I love those. And then if whenever we do the quinoa, and then just to add make a quinoa bowl to that, so you can load it up with like if you're gonna have like kale on the side, or if you're gonna have any kind of chicken, you're gonna have like your jalapenos.
Well, I think one of the reasons I really like the Instapot, one of the benefits I find, is that I like cooking different foods in it that I usually don't like cooking otherwise, or it just makes some really healthy but annoying to cook foods easier to cook. Like I find spaghetti squash really annoying, and butternut squash or sweet potatoes. But when I use the Instapot, I find that it's so much easier and that I actually enjoy cooking them.
Like in my large 8-quart, I can do a whole spaghetti squash, don't even cut it, 11 minutes, and it's done. Yep. And then like I think sweet potatoes are like 12 minutes. So easy.
I'm assuming you use the Instapot every single day. I know I do. I probably use it maybe 1 to 3 times in a day, depending on what meals I'm making. But what are some of your favorite foods to cook in the Instapot? What are you cooking every day? And what are your, staple meals that you're using it for?
Probably the hard-boiled eggs. I use that every week. Yeah, it's just easy snack, so versatile. And so that's the main one. Like ribs, we do a couple times a month. Broccoli a couple times a week, actually. So
okay, yeah, so that's very pretty similar to what I use it for. I'm cooking quinoa every week, definitely the hard-boiled eggs, steel-cut oats, and one of the things I've been really liking using the Instapot for is doing my vegetables. So I have this little glass bowl that I'm able to fit on the inside of the 6-quart Instapot, and I'll just put frozen vegetables, and I'll put it on for 1 minute high pressure, and then let it slow release, and I'm able to steam my vegetables. I know there's a steam option, but I just find that sometimes it still takes too long to heat up. Whereas if you use the Instapot with the high pressure, you can cook it in 1 minute. So doing steamed vegetables, I'm finding I'm doing that every day as well.
Yeah, and that's like I've never used the steam option. I've only done the slow cooker and the manual. It's just I see you can adapt those to everything.
Yeah, I know. I barely ever use the preset settings on the Instapot. I find that I like to just use the manual and kind of commit to memory the different settings that I like to use. So I know eggs are 3 minutes on high and then let slow release or natural release for 5 minutes. And I guess I just start to know what the presets are for everything. And I find this a little bit easier than relying on the preset buttons, because sometimes they tend to overcook or undercook depending on maybe say the size of your meat. And having a really good feel for what the Instapot can do is almost better than relying on those presets. At least that's just my opinion.
I know, and that's what I do too, though, because I've used some of them and they don't make sense at all. And I know they have the rice function. I tried the rice function once and my rice did not come out right at all.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is that, we really should get to know your manual settings and feel comfortable with using the manual function and not necessarily rely on the presets, because they're not always perfect in every situation. So let's talk a little bit about Instapot fails. I think many people on this podcast have heard my Instapot fail, where I left my Instapot on the stove and pushed it back a little bit and it turned on the element and I ended up burning my Instapot. So I'm on my second Instapot. But what are some fails or maybe mishaps you've had with your Instapot?
Well, I can't remember what I had in it, but it just had the 1 cup of water at the bottom. I don't know if it was like broccoli or it was something, but it just had water at the bottom and the water had completely evaporated. Like I had let the natural pressure release or whatever, and I never removed the top, and I guess it had stayed on the low function. And then I'd done my it was meatballs for my boyfriend one time, and we just left it on the slow cooker function and it completely burnt the bottom of it.
Yeah, I find the slow cooker function is actually very, very hot and can evaporate out any liquid that you have if you've left it on too long. And I wonder if it's because there's the saute function and those elements are very close. But I do find that it can heat up quite high, either on warm or the slow cooker function. So you got to be careful about that. So last question here that I have, I want you to tell everybody if they're thinking about getting an Instapot or they're not too sure or they're afraid of using it. What are some words of encouragement that you could give to our listeners about getting started with the Instapot?
It'll seem really, really intimidating at first, but just the more you use it, the easier it will get. And there's so many like YouTube tutorials and new recipes. And that's like in my group where I'm going to start to do recipe videos. And they really want me to start to do live recipe videos. And I'm so nervous about that. I've never done a Facebook Live. I've only done like one Instagram Live. And so I'm super nervous, but I'm going to start that in a couple weeks.
Oh, that sounds really awesome. I love Facebook Live, so I'm glad to hear that you're going to get into that. And it's such a great way to connect with your audience. And what I love about doing cooking demonstrations is that you're actually showing nutrition, not, just talking about it or teaching nutrients. So again, if somebody or a client is on the fence about Instapot, what are you saying to them to feel a little bit more encouraged to get out there and start using the Instapot or an electric pressure cooker?
I would say just deep dive, just get it. Before I got one, I actually used my neighbors because everybody was talking about the Instapot. I'm like, what is this thing? Is it really as good as they all say it is? So I got it within like an hour of cooking that meal. I think it was ribs. I went ahead on Amazon, bought it, and then like I think 2 or 3 weeks later it was like Black Friday, and that's when I bought ones for our family too. And then after that I bought another one for myself. So just just have faith, go with it. It'll totally change your life. It'll make your meal prepping so much quicker. And there is a learning curve, but it will get easier.
Yes, I agree. There's definitely a learning curve when it comes to using the Instapot, and it really isn't, I guess, as instant as it might sound. And it isn't a all-in-one recipe meal pot. There are some recipes that you can obviously cook all the ingredients and everything in one, but I do find that sometimes all the different food items don't necessarily cook at the same time. So a little bit of a learning curve as you start to learn how long rice cooks and maybe how long pasta cooks, or maybe how pasta sometimes doesn't cook or isn't really fitted for the Instapot. But once you start experimenting with all the different food items, you start to get an idea of what you can use the Instapot for, and the leveraging that you can use for meal planning. So thank you very much, Laura, for being with us today. I think it was really great to be able to speak with a dietitian in Florida while I'm way up in cold Manitoba. Very jealous of your climate. And Laura, can you just let us know a little bit about your links and different ways that people could connect with you if they're interested in learning about you and your business and your website, maybe your Facebook page? That would be great.
Okay, thank you so much, Susan. I can be found everywhere, Laura Clevenger. So my blog is lauraclevenger.com, Twitter, Laura Clevenger, Instagram, Laura Clevenger, Pinterest, Laura Clevenger, but Facebook, it's Laura Clevenger RD.
Well, thanks again, Laura, so much for hanging out with us today. And I just want everybody to know that I'll put all of Laura's links in the show notes so you can get access to that, as well as her Facebook group to find out more awesome low carb Instapot recipes and that wonderful community. And also, we'll have the downloadable guide to our 50 Instapot dietitian approved recipes in the show notes as well. So thanks again, Laura.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me.